Hello Word Nerds! Happy Thursday! One of the big things on people's minds when they are starting to get really publishing forward is marketing. What is the best way to get my books into the hands of readers who will enjoy them? And while there aren't any guarantees in publishing, there's no one surefire way to make sure that you sell 1 million books and hit all of the bestseller lists, there are a handful of things that can be helpful. You could build up a social media following, you could run pre-order campaigns, you could make a ton of swag for your books and hit up the convention circuits. But the one I wanted to talk about today is the use of newsletters. So I'm going to preface this by reiterating the fact that if a newsletter does not sound like a thing you want to do, you don't have to do it. There are thousands of different ways to success in the publishing world. Some things are going to work for you, some things aren't, some things you're just not going to like as much. This is all just advice and you can take it or leave it. If a newsletter seems like something you might be interested in doing though, this is the video for you. Newsletter 101! So the first question you want to ask yourself is a newsletter right for me? The biggest question you want to ask yourself with this is, do you have a book coming out soon? It doesn't completely rule out doing a newsletter if you don't have a book coming out soon, but it's gonna give you the best results if you do. Having a newsletter as an author is all about building up loyal followers. Because someone has trusted you with their email address, arguably one of the most personal things they have aside from phone numbers, it's gonna feel a lot more social media intimate, if that makes any sense. You'll be showing up in their inbox and they will probably want to reply to you. As you build up these relationships through your newsletter, you have people who are now statistically more likely to spend money on your book. Again, no guarantees. It's just more likely that if they like you enough to give you their email address and to check the emails that you are sending them, it's more likely to have a conversion to where they're willing to put money towards your work. Going back to the question, do you have work that's coming out soon? It doesn't matter which method you are hoping to publish your book, whether it's with a big five or a small press or self-publishing, newsletters can be useful for this purpose, building up a devoted reader base who are going to buy your books and then tell their friends to buy your books. If you've been thinking about doing a newsletter and you're feeling really good about it, feeling like you want to go for it, take the leap, here are a few must-haves and some can-haves for your newsletter. The first must-have when you are hoping to send out a newsletter is a platform host. The most popular one that I've seen is MailChimp. There are other hosts out there, so do your research, figure out which one is going to work best for not only your needs now, but what you are hoping to have in the future. Because for most hosts, it's only free up to a certain number of subscribers. So for example, if you decide to host your newsletter on MailChimp, it's free up to 2,000 subscribers. And then after that, it's gonna charge you $10 a month. So look at some different hosts, decide which one is gonna work best for you. I've included some links down in the description section to help you make those decisions. And once you've picked one, they will have a lot of tutorials of getting started. So I'm not gonna go into the technicalities of composing a newsletter on MailChimp. This is just about the broad strokes of your newsletter. The second must-have of your newsletter is a consistent but not too frequent schedule. Nobody wants to be spammed, which is why I personally would recommend maybe an every other week or a once a month schedule. Once things start to pick up for you, you can decide if you want to do more or less. You can reach out to your followers and ask them if they would like more or less of you. But in my experience subscribing to newsletters, as well as from talking to other people who host newsletters or subscribe to them, 1 to 2 times a month is generally what people are finding success with, because you're in their inboxes enough to be on the reader's mind, but not so much that they don't want to see you ever again. And my third and final must-have for if you want to host a newsletter is some sort of reward for people subscribing. There are tons of differences in content and what people put on their newsletters, but the one thing they all have in common is that they offer something to the subscriber as a reward for joining the team, basically. And this kind of bleeds over into the can-haves. You have a lot of wiggle room when you're trying to decide what you want to give as a reward. I polled the other Word Nerds on things that they loved that would make them much more likely to subscribe to a newsletter. And things they mentioned were offers to freebie courses. Say in your newsletter you're offering writing advice, maybe make a PDF of some of your tips or some worksheets that they can do in their own writing life and offer those automatically just for signing up. In your newsletter host, they'll have a way that you can set it up so that once someone subscribes, they get their first email and it's always the same and it includes that thing. Another Word Nerd mentioned exclusive looks at deleted scenes, or upcoming things in a book series. For example, Susan Dennard always shows her book covers to her newsletter subscribers first. I know I recently signed on to the newsletter for Go Scribbler because they offered me a PDF of one of their posters, and I liked the poster. And now I'm on their newsletter. I'm gonna get updates from them. In the self-publishing world, a thing that a lot of authors will offer is a large chunk of a book, or if they have lots of books published, an entire book for free if someone signs up for their newsletter. And this actually ties in really well to the continuation of the can-haves, because you want to have a newsletter that's gonna keep people engaged. You don't want them to sign up and get the free thing and then unsubscribe immediately. So a lot of times in the self-publishing world, after someone signs up and gets that free book, if they stay subscribed, they get a coupon to get the next book for some percentage off. In the traditional publishing world, you could continue to offer deleted scenes. Showing your behind the scenes work can be hugely successful as well. Showing what your pages look like as you're revising them. You don't have to upload your entire book, but if you do show, these are my past pages, or here's a look at the first draft of chapter 1 and the final draft of chapter 1. There are so many things you can do to keep people engaged, to keep them wanting to read your newsletter and to be excited when they see your name in their email inbox. I've got a few more can-haves for your newsletter. These are by no means necessary, but I've seen them in other newsletters that are doing well. So again, take what you like, leave the rest, toy with all of them, see what you like the best. Most newsletters will have some sort of text bulk. It could consist of life updates. Life updates typically create a more personal bond with your readers. They get to know you as a human better, and in turn, they'll reply to you and you get to know them as humans better. A lot include publishing updates. What is going on specifically behind the scenes as each author is working on their next book. And there are also TBR updates. What are you as an author reading right now? What are you loving? None of these things have to be, nor should they be particularly long. Just a little something to share with your subscribers. Things that you found helpful for yourself that you think they might also find helpful. Going along with that, a lot of people put a weekly roundup. So a collection of 3 to 5 articles posted by other authors around the internet on their blogs or podcasts or whatever, just talking about their own publishing experiences or books they are loving. You could include playlists. What are you listening to right now that is just totally fueling your creative muse? You could do tea recommendations. What tea pairs with what book? Be creative. These can-haves are where you can really let your individuality shine. Don't just talk about yourself. It's a very fine balance to strike between, hey, buy all my things, love me, and hey, I'm a human being who loves books and also writes them and wants you to buy them. You might not get it perfect on the first try, but you can keep an eye on your analytics, tweak your newsletter, see what things work, see which things don't. I think my final can-have for the day is going to be a social media presence that goes along with your newsletter. You don't have to be on all the social medias, but maybe pick one and start building up a following on it. Because as people find you, they will find your newsletter. And you can then use your social media accounts to tease what is happening in your newsletter, what exclusive things you are offering that they just can't get on social media. This is actually how I signed up for Erin Bowman's newsletter. She posted on Instagram about how she was releasing juicy details of the finances of being an author, and I was like, I want to know what that is. And so I signed up. Those are my can and must-haves for newsletters. If you've been building up a newsletter and are seeing success, let me know down in the comments what things are working well for you. I'm still not an expert in newsletters, so I'm sure I've forgotten something. So if there's something about newsletters that you love that I didn't mention in here, please also include those down in the comments. Be sure to tune in this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time when we are going to be talking all about the amazing storytelling of The Good Place. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see you all then, and until then, stay nerdy.